Today I went for a little walk, and it's summer, right? So it's very hot out. We got, you know, I was being musty, I was hopefully you didn't hear that. That was my cat that I don't know what she's doing. Oh, now she's eating. She's eating every time I'm recording. I don't know why. Whatever. My retention already dropped. Whatever. You're here. I hope you know what I'm saying. Like if you're watching this, you probably have good attention span. But whatever. So I was going for a walk, right? And it's summer, and I was being very musty, right? I was, because well, I'm talking in the past, like I'm not still. No, I just finished the walk. Well, not just finished, but I cooled a little bit off, but I'm still musty, you know what I'm saying? I did not take a shower. I'm not gonna lie. I'm recording this musty as hell. And I had to put on a shirt though, because I need to put my mic somewhere. That's the trash thing about having a mic, but because I took it off because I was like, I can't. I almost said a word that gets you banned on YouTube. I had to take off my shirt because I was being too hot. So, anyways, I was going for this little. I was musty as hell, and then I was thinking, I'm musty as hell. I probably smell like shit, But you know what? I was loving every moment of it for some reason. I was like, yeah, it's kind of cold, kind of hot. It was like 33 degrees Celsius. I do not know what that is in Fahrenheit. It might be times 3, but I don't know. I mean, 43 degrees Celsius is very, very hot. I mean, not very, very hot, but it's pretty hot. But I was not, I was musty. I was sweating. I had like some drops from my armpits and stuff like that. And, I probably smell it right now. I ain't gonna lie. I probably got used to it. I got kind of tan too. I'm already kind of tan because I'm in the sun a lot, but today I really was in the sun a lot. So, but I was enjoying every moment of it, That's the interesting part. And I was like, yeah, I'm musty as hell. But at the end of the day, hold on, I need to move my cat out of the way because she is not letting me have anything. Damn, she's being a bitch right now. I ain't gonna lie. You might say that I'm rude to my cat. I don't care, bro. She's literally being a bitch right now. Like, what the fuck? She's not letting me work at all. She's not letting me record. Like, she was chill just before I pressed record, Yeah, whatever. What was I saying? Where was I going? So even though it was so bad outside, technically, I enjoyed it. Even though I was smelling, I was sweating, and it was very hot, right? Because at the end of the day, it was the sun. I was getting some steps. I was in nature, I didn't mention that, but I was, well, not in nature. I mean, kind of in nature, around the neighborhood, I guess. You got some parks, you got some, you got some nature. It's not full-blown nature, but it's nature-ish, nature-y, right? So I was enjoying every moment of it. And that made me think, that's low-key how life is. You go through life, and, sometimes you're going to be musty as hell. You're going to be musty as hell, Yeah. Things are not going to go well, but it's about how you think about it, Like, you don't really care that, I didn't care that I was musty. You know why? Because I was solo. Maybe that's just me, but me personally, I don't really care if I, like, smell or I'm musty. If it's like, yo, I'm alone, nobody's with me, you know what I'm saying? Now, if I go on a date, that's a whole nother thing. Or in general, go out with people, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But when you're solo, don't really care about being musty. You actually are like, that's kind of cool. This might translate into the grind, you know? Like, this is actually kind of cool, you know? It's kind of fun. You know, we're just grinding. I don't know, it's kind of fun. You don't, when you realize that you don't have to prove nothing to nobody, you're freeing. Just like when you're musty, and you don't care that you're musty because you're not trying to prove that you're not musty to anyone. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. Also, I realized that I was going like basically without my head, right? The chicken without its head. I think it's the phrasing or whatever, the expression. And because I was, working kind of without my head. I was, I didn't have a place necessarily to go. First of all, that's like kind of life too, no? You don't really, like, you might envision a goal, the goal is maybe, reach this park. But you don't really, you know what I'm saying? You don't really know. And the highlight of your work might not even be the park. It might be something completely else. Shit, it might even be when you go back, when you're on the way back. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a circular work, which would kind of be better, but the way I did it was I didn't really know where I was going, so I kind of had to go back the same way I went, because otherwise I would have never, otherwise I would have been still outside trying to find my house. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's the thing. You think you have a goal, but in reality, the goal is something else. And when you do reach that goal, it's never as 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 cool as you'd think. I feel like this is not coming from a person that reached all its goals. I reached some not lifetime goals maybe, but goals in general. I think every person has reached goals in general, even if you maybe don't think, oh no, I did not do shit. I mean, you did some shit, probably. I mean, even like exams, that's still a goal, for school and stuff. Like, finishing high school. I mean, that's still a goal, That's still something, Like, obviously, that's not that's not my standard, right? I'm just saying that you kind of know how it is to reach some goals, and that's like when you reach the view, when you reach the park that you wanted to get to. It's like, I mean, hey, it's cool, you're for a couple of seconds, maybe you take a break, you sit on the grass. This is what I'm doing. This is what I did. I'm trying to recall what I did basically. So you get to that thing, to that view, to that whatever, and then you see the label. You're like, damn, I finally reached it. I'm so glad I reached it. But then after like 10 minutes, maybe less if you're like more brain rotted, I guess, you get up, I don't think the word is brain rotted, but I don't know. Just searching for dopamine. You can sit still. I don't know, but I don't know. Start scrolling on TikTok while you're in that view. There's a reason though. Here's the thing. I don't know if you notice this, but whenever you walk, it feels so bad to just take your phone out and scroll or do whatever, because it's not comfortable, because you're not necessarily sitting in a comfortable place, right? So it kind of is like that with life too. When you're actually grinding, you don't, or actually living, you don't feel like taking your phone out and start scrolling on TikTok, you never feel like doing that. At least that's to me, when I'm on a walk, I don't feel like I, should check social media or whatever. I mean, I don't even have social media for the time being. I'd probably reactivate in like a couple of days because I need to, I'm saying, to start shooting some shots because, I'm finishing up a period where I'm supposed to be working. Now I'm going to go into a period of not degeneracy, but whatever, what I mean. Just going on more dates and stuff. But that's besides the point. You don't really feel like taking your phone out and looking. It doesn't feel good. You know why? Because you're actually living. Now, you could say the biological reason for why it doesn't feel good is because the sun is in your face, first of all, and you can barely see the phone screen, and the fact that you don't sit somewhere, but whatever, there are biological things. I'm just associating things so that you have a clue, right? It doesn't feel good to use your phone while you're on a walk. So then why do you think it feels good to use your phone while you live? You know what I'm saying? I said, life is like a walk, So why would it feel good to use your phone while living? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you have to use your phone sometimes. I'm not, the thing, don't take this literally out of context, right? But do you really need to use your phone this much? You know what I'm saying? Like, also, another thing with the walk, sometimes I would. So when I reached the park, I was like, yo, let me see what's up. Like, let me go to the left because the park looks like it's going to get, it's going to dive deeper because there was like a little lake, loot lake. I'm a Fortnite guy. No, but a lake, a pretty big lake, I think. I don't know, whatever. The thing is, I wanted to see the lake, right? So I was like, yo, there's a road that's going to this lake, I think. Let me follow it. So I follow it for like 20 minutes, right? And what I find out is that it's just a wall there, basically. I mean, not a wall of bushes. Like, you cannot go there. It's closed, like, it doesn't lead, that road doesn't lead to anywhere. It's just, it just finishes and that's it. That was like so anticlimactic. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yo, so I actually can't see the fucking lake, and you don't have a road going to the lake, and you can't like go to the shore of the lake or whatever. It's just it's just stuck there. Every time I knew there was a lake was because I heard water, and I also could kind of see through the bushes. But yeah, like I said, I was expecting that road to lead to somewhere, but no, that's just how it is. I didn't feel mad. I was like, okay, that's kind of stupid. The same thing happened when I was going back, because I was trying to go back through the houses. There was like a long ass road, and when I went back, there was like, whoa, this is still testing my English skills. What's this called? It's like a round intersection. I think that's what it's called. There's no like English word for it. I think it's literally called that, round intersection. And like it was like a circle. You walk the road, you walk on the road, and 15-20 minutes later, I get to the end of the road, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a way out. No, no, I didn't. There was just an intersection there, but the intersection was like for you to turn back. There was not, there was no way of going like, oh, maybe there's a little road between the houses. No, nothing. Like, how stupid is that? No, that was so stupid. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I never saw that kind of stuff. I know there are roads, of course, that lead to nowhere. That's obvious, but that looked like, it looked like something it was not, And the fact that there was an intersection there was stupid. Like, there was nothing in the intersection like with 4 paths or whatever. It was literally just for the going back path. I don't know, kind of weird. So I went back, but that's the thing. What I wanted to get at is that sometimes, you'll get to some roads. Okay, I'm starting to notice that I smell myself. So I smell bad if I myself. I usually can't smell myself, but now I can. Okay, so when you go on a certain path, let's say, you expect a result, you expect something, you expect to, you start a new business, you go to the new country, you date the girl, because she's new, not new, hopefully, but you expect, you're like, oh, this girl, she's gonna be my wife, this business, this is what is gonna make me rich, this country, I'll live here for the rest of my life and everything is gonna be good. But it never really is like that, now, is it? It's, you go a certain road and you expect, oh, this is so likely it's gonna lead to somewhere. That's how I thought that road is gonna lead to that lake. You start a business, you're like, oh, this is gonna lead somewhere. I believe it. And then it leads nowhere, and you're kind of disappointed. But you know what? Because when you walk, when you're in a walk, you see things more rationally. You don't get mad. This way, like I said, a summer walk is like your life, but in a oversimplified manner, maybe, and more. You view things from a more rational point of view, more objective, because nothing really makes you mad. Like, if you sweat, you're not gonna be that mad. If you, nothing could really make me mad. So I was saying that whenever you see a new path and you take it and you think it's going to lead somewhere and it doesn't lead to nowhere, whenever I walk, I'm like, okay, now at least I know. I laughed it off. I was like, because it was, it was anticlimactic, sure. You could say, oh, you wasted 20 minutes walking there. I mean, no, I did my steps and I was getting the sun, which is the overall goal of walking. Oh my God, this... Oh, I said, oh my God, I haven't said that word, I think, in like forever. But, because it's kind of corny to say, no, the full word. I don't know. But this makes so much sense, right? You always think that this road is going to lead to somewhere, then you're mad when it doesn't. But in life, when you walk, you don't really care. You're like, oh, I got my steps and I got the sun. That was the point. That was the point. You lived the experience. You saw what happened. And now also you have the knowledge that road leads to nowhere. So next time you see it, maybe you go out with your friends and they're like, yo, let's go that road. It looks like it leads to the lake. And you're like, no. That road does not lead to the lake. Let's go there. You know, that's what's called experience, wisdom. You know, you cannot gain that wisdom without. You cannot go to the perfect road without having to go to some roads that are like kind of ass, you know, like that are stuck, you know, unless you use Google Maps. But I don't think there's really Google Maps for life, you know. And even then, you know, Google Maps is sometimes kind of dumb, you know. But you you go to the road and you walk that path, and then you realize that, hey, that was not the path I actually should have went. But guess what? Now, first of all, I got the experience of going to that path, which may or may not be a good experience, you know. Maybe it was a very sunny day. And by the way, when I'm saying this, just think about both life and the work. I'm saying the work as life, you know. So maybe it was a very sunny day, right? And it was very hot, maybe, and you know, it kind of just was a waste of time, maybe. But still, at the very least, you still now know where you should not go. You know, even if you wasted time with a business, wasted money, maybe, you could argue that, you know, it translates to that. You spend money on a business and then you're going nowhere. You know, maybe spending money on a girl and it ended up nowhere. But now at least you know that that business is not what you need. You know, you got experience with the girl. You know now what you should not do. You know, even if you think you learn nothing, you still learn something. You know, you don't need to have a paper and write down bullet points, top 5 things I did wrong. No, just doing it wrong is gonna help. You don't need to, you know. And now you can see better. You're not gonna be as deluded into thinking that the next path is really gonna lead to the lake, and you actually enjoy just walking and being like, oh, sometimes I get stuck, sometimes I don't. But if every time you don't get stuck, guess what? Now there are less routes you can take. And the less routes you can take, that means you're closer to the right one. Okay? So if there's A, B, C, D, you know, and path D is the right one, after your A and B, after you went to A and B, you know, now there is a 50% chance you get it, right? The more businesses you start, the more you try, the higher chance it has in the future of you working. It's just that you don't see it as a path, you know, because like I said, the working in the summer is an oversimplified version of life, but oversimplification helps because you can see the actual picture. When you start a new business, you don't feel like when you close the business that you worked on that didn't work, you don't feel like, oh, I crossed out the path and now I can, you know, maybe see the next one. You don't feel like that because it doesn't feel like that, you know? But in reality, it is like that. You know, you think that you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm a little, I'm a little dizzy right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, I worked the whole day in the sun. You know what I'm saying? I'm a bit dizzy, you know. So maybe I didn't make much sense in this video, but hopefully you did understand what I was aiming at with the whole path and all analogy, right? And the whole walk in the summer. But it really feels like that, you know, like, and it's also a lot of based on perception. Like I said, walking in the summer can feel horrible because you're sweating and you're smelling and you're musty. Meanwhile, it can feel good because you're sweating and you're smelling and you're musty. You know, like This is one of the only things I feel like when both things can be good. And why would you feel good about being sweaty and musty? I don't know, bro. It's just you realize that you don't care. Like, well, it's kind of funny. Look how much I'm sweating, you know? Like, you can really treat life like that. You know, you can really treat life like that. And yeah, with that, I think I'm gonna finish this video. Though I do have it on the tip of my tongue that I needed to say more things, but I really don't. To be honest, I really don't know. And maybe there are more things that you could add to this analogy. But you can think. I feel like you can apply it to a lot of things in life. You know, where are you in the summer walk right now that made you feel like this? You know what I'm saying? Also, some weird thing that happened to me. I don't know how to put it with, but you know how you get dogs that bark at you when you walk near houses and stuff, near gardens. You know, I personally hate that thing. You know, not everything in life you're gonna love. Obviously, there are some things you're gonna hate, but you know, because they scare the shit out of me. You know, maybe that's anxiety. You know, maybe that could be an analogy for anxiety, for the fear of nothing really, because you know I'm scared of these dogs, but like they're only barking. You know, I'm saying like they can't get to me, right? And meanwhile, I say this though, they can't get to me. Oh, there was like a small, not a small dog, but a smaller dog that was barking at me, and I was looking at the fence, and I was like, yo, that fence is kind of wide. Like he could low-key just come out of the fence. You know that what that motherfucker did? He was so mad at me for crossing his path. I genuinely don't know why these dogs are so mad for no reason, but you know, he was so mad at me for crossing his path, and he barked at me crazily, and he put his head like through the fence thing, like within the two, like prison. It was like a prison type of fence, if you have to imagine it, right? It was a prison type of fence, and he put his head through it, and his head got stuck. I was like, yo, look at that motherfucker. He's so stupid, you know, bro. That motherfucker ended up somehow squeezing, you know, because he couldn't pull his head back, you know. So he was like, the only way forward is literally forward. So he went forward and he went through the fence, and then he started chasing me. That was so scary. That was so scary. You know, and I ran to my house. Thankfully, thankfully that dog stopped. You know, I'm scared of dogs. You know, I like them. They're cute. Whenever you know they're with the owners, or whenever you know, what I'm saying, like, not these motherfuckers that are barking at you and that are chasing you while barking. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that shit, me personally. You know what I'm saying? I think you're kind of weird if you do. a random stray dog or a random dog is chasing, barking at you. You never seen that dog before. To me, that's not a very pretty image. You know, I'm like, yo, it happened once too with another dog. I was like, I don't know why, but I just sat there, and that dog had an owner, but the dog just ran up, and I was like, yo, what the fuck am I even gonna do? He's coming up to me, you know, and I just said that he was coming, running up to me, barking. I was like, yo, I cannot outrun this dog. What do I do? So I kind of just froze. But apparently he just wanted to play, and you know, I'm saying, I can't know that, bro. But yeah, I don't differentiate from a war bark to I don't differentiate a war bark with a love bark. But whatever, I guess it was just another little story that happened at the end of my walk. But yeah, anxiety, you know, like you're really scared of the dogs, but in reality, they can't really do anything to you. You know, that's anxiety. You know, the dog coming out of you, out of the fence, you know, I don't think that happens with anxiety. But yeah, whatever. See you in the next one.